Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have a quorum, and we will now begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, did you say progress, Mr. Fletcher? I think you're actually bringing Roxy along with you, Ms. Cash with you. Thank you. We will now begin with you, Dr. Burns.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. As part of our Vision 2020 strategic plan, the Wake County Public School System committed itself to greater community engagement and graduating students who are ready for productive citizenship. That's why I'm heartened to see an effort this week to engage our students and employees in National Volunteer Service Week. All this week, schools will be gathering food, paper products, and diapers for the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. They'll also be collecting clothes for Note in the Pocket, a nonprofit organization that serves many of the students in our district by providing new and gently used clothing. Many of our students and staff will be assembling literacy kits for both elementary and secondary students. Some of the items will be pencils, note cards, notebooks, library card application forms, and selections from recommended reading lists. And many will be collecting backpacks and filling them with age-appropriate school supplies for elementary, middle, and high school students. My staff, I really appreciate the hard work that every member of our staff does, and our students who are participating in this initiative as a way to help others in our community. I'll close tonight by asking for your help in spreading the word about efforts to enroll children in Wake County Public School System Pre-K, Smart Start, or Head Start programs next school year. The Pre-K application event will take place this Friday, April 20th at Crossroads 2 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Staff will be on hand to answer questions and help complete applications for families who are hoping to enroll their children. All attendees will receive passes to Marbles Kids Museum. Parents will need to bring a copy of the child's birth certificate, proof of residency, and the family income information. Our pre-K programs serve hundreds of lower-income students each year. They're an important way to make sure all students enter kindergarten ready to learn and excel. The deadline to apply is April 30th. If you wish more information, you can find it at Wake County Public School System, wcpss.net/pre-K, P-R-E-K. That, Madam Chair, members of the board, concludes my remarks this evening.
Thank you. I will not be long, although I printed out several comments from parents who have began to email myself and my colleagues regarding their position on our budget. And of course, what I will do is publicly thank the staff for the context and the work that they've put behind communicating our budget. It's, I would say for me personally, it's the first time I've gotten really substantial feedback from parents. I mean, literally down to the line items, people were able to say, here's what's important. One of the ones that I didn't read, which I do think is important, and I did get several from our employees also encouraging us to submit the budget as is. But there was one, I think she's called herself a secretary, so I'm not sure what her position is in our school, but she's at an elementary school, and she was explaining to me that she dispenses at least 20 medications a day, and what that means. And you know, she outlines for me that she's not educated to do that, not what she expected, but she does it because she loves the kids, and wanted us to really understand as a board the impact that that has on our schools. And when we have gaps in services at our school, it requires and is a burden to all the folks in the building, and absolutely Wake County Public School employees always rise to the occasion. But I also applaud our own employees for also, quite frankly, digging deep into our budget and providing their personal feedback of what it means, and quite frankly, recognizing how difficult this process is. And so I want to thank everyone in the community who started to email us, those who will speak this evening, and a reminder to our staff that we will continue to ask questions and continue to process this, especially for people like me who are external processors. I know this isn't easy for any of us, but I do want to applaud the community for the level of engagement that I've seen. Maybe it's because the time frame is compressed, but I think it's important to note and thank our community for their engagement. I'm getting stopped in the grocery store with people saying, "Hey, just raise my taxes. It's pay me now, pay me later." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." Thank you. Yeah, that was my most entertaining one because I was pushing the cart. And I was like, thank you. But I think it's important to note that we have an engaged community, and some communities wish for that. And so I think it's important to know that. I will only share one more thing that is greatness about our district. You heard my colleagues talk about several of us have been attending visits at our schools with elected officials. And today, myself, staff, Brian Kingsley, who else was with us today? Mark Savage. We're at Reedy Creek Middle School today with 6 elected officials, only 1 from the Wake County delegation. And I point that out because they were there to see the magnet theme there. But quite frankly, again, hats off to Mr. Moore, the principal, who really talked about how every student in their school gets access, and we actually got to see the Bay students be engaged. And I will tell you, our elected officials from more rural counties asked if we could host summer school for their districts at our school, and I kindly raised my hand and said, who's going to pay for summer school in our buildings with our teachers? And it was quite actually an interesting conversation that we did engage in, but it also gave our students and our staff, by the way, the 2 faculty who were on this panel, one of the elected officials said, well, we know you haven't been here your entire career. And interestingly enough, both of those educators had been at Reedy Creek Middle School their entire career. And I think that speaks to who we are. And they both actually pointed me to their teacher working condition survey, which I also hats off to those educators for saying to me that they made the choice to stay there once it became a magnet school, and were investing without PD. And I think that's important to note, that they are doing this work on their own without professional development, given the constraints that we're in. And so we have so many schools that we like to applaud, and today that happened to be the one that I was in the building of, and I didn't make it to Green, but I'm sure Ms. Kushner was there. I stayed at Reedy Creek a little longer chatting with people. But again, I think it's important to note the hard work and commitment of everyone in our school buildings, and the way that they show up and really represented Wake County today was absolutely impressive and should be commended. Thank you. Dr. Martin.
So not a lot of comments today, but just, continue to work on the budget. We're working really hard to try to put together as effective a budget as we can. A friend of mine and I were talking about it, and he said, so what would happen if we actually gave more money to schools than they needed? Would we really complain about what that would do for our children? How's that for a thought? Pay me now, pay me later. Yes, but what if we slightly overspent on our kids? Would that really not give us a world that we want? It's sad we're having these discussions. But I'm also reminded of the words of Martin Luther King in the last book that he wrote, and I forget the title of the book right now, but I have the quote. Where do we go from here? Yeah. He said, the real cost lies ahead. The discount education given Negroes will in the future have to be purchased at full price if quality education is to be realized. Jobs are harder and costlier to create than voting rolls. The eradication of slums housing millions is complex far beyond integrating buses and lunch counters. That's the work we're talking about doing right now, folks. Equitable education ain't cheap. But the cost not to do it is really expensive, and that's the hard work we're about.
Well, Mr. Sutton? Okay. Well, since our last meeting, we had the wonderful groundbreaking at Southeast Raleigh High School, Elementary School, and I wanted to appreciate the chair and Mr. Sutton's comments for at that wonderful groundbreaking. I think it's important, given when we're talking about finances, the wonderful partnership with the YMCA, that to leverage the community's goodwill to these schools is going to be important for us in our long game. And I think this is an excellent project to lift up for this partnership going forward. I'm excited for the students that are going to be in that school. Also, last week was an ACEs week for me. I had 3 meetings with through Wake AHA, which is Advocates for Health in Action, which is the quarterback agency for the resilience work that's being done in Wake County, and just the focus on what we can do, again, countywide, partnering with all the agencies that we have to address adverse childhood experiences, and and the role that the school system can play in that, in addressing the vulnerability of children and their families, because it's got to be both and. And as the chair said, I was at Green for this morning. Green Elementary Magnet School had their Leadership Day, which is modeled on Combs' longstanding successful leadership school, and the students there were astounding. They taught me the 8th habit. Covey's known for the 7 habits. The 8th habit that's been added is find your voice and help others find theirs. And that fits so well with the 4 C's. And the students were, I've learned a lot, and we heard from students. Dr. Brown, the principal, introduced the kids, and she closed us out, and the kids were all in between. And at STAL on Friday, I just want to note that both at Green and at STAL, so in the last 5 days, I have heard Wake County Public School students fluently speaking Mandarin Chinese. It will blow your mind, the work that our students are doing through the Participate teachers and other native speakers that are in these 2 schools. I'm not a native. I don't know what Mandarin should sound like. It sounded pretty impressive to me. And at Green, they also have Spanish language as well. So these bilingual kids that we're raising, the innovation that is happening in Wake County Public Schools, Green and Stow are just 2 examples of the innovation that's going on in our schools is astounding, and we need to tell that story everywhere we go. It needs to be in our budget story. It needs to be in our community stories. We need to be lifting up the fascinating and wonderful innovation and choice that's going on in Wake County Public Schools. So I can't talk enough about those 2 schools. So thanks to Stow for hosting the District 6 BAC on Friday. Our next and final BAC, perhaps of the year, is going to be May 14th at Riverbend Elementary at 5:30. Glenn Carrozza will be there to talk about big picture issues coming up with our student enrollment plan. So invite everyone to that, and wanted to congratulate our Chief of Staff, Dr. Marvin Connolly. He will be greatly missed, but I'm very congratulatory to him for going back to my hometown, Fayetteville, to be superintendent of the Cumberland County Public School System. They are very, very lucky to have you, Dr. Connolly. Congratulations.
I want to be in denial for a little longer.
Yeah, me too.
I'd like to start with a thank you to Apex High School for hosting our Board Advisory Council last night. Dr. Kearney gave us a wonderful tour of the current location of Apex High School, though temporary, which will, in a couple years, become Green Level High School. And it really shows how in our building program, the academic program is the driver for design, so much more than the building being the driver for the academic program. And that is a big shift in what we've seen in the schools that I grew up in and that many of us know. And it's just amazing to see what is happening with collaborative spaces. Dr. Kearney highlighted an area of their media center where PD is done by the teachers during the day so that the students can see that teachers and administrators are consistently learning. Learning never stops. And it was amazing. thank you to the PTSA of Apex High School for providing refreshments, and to our Assistant Superintendent of Facilities, Joe Desiremore, for speaking to us not just on school construction, but renovation and the challenges that we face in Wake County with 183 buildings and growing. This Thursday at 10 a.m., I'll host a community chat at Eva Perry Library. All are welcome. I want to thank the community for sending emails and their overwhelming support for the teaching and learning that goes on in our schools and for our children in Wake County. And to add to Pay Me Now, Pay Me Later, and this is a reminder every month at the Fuquay Education Chamber. It's printed on their agenda. It's a quote from Frederick Douglass that it is better to build strong children than to repair broken men.
That was a great quote. Well, we had, other than the Southeast Raleigh, which I really enjoyed the groundbreaking at Southeast Raleigh Elementary. What a collaborative event that was, and that's so exciting. I would like everybody that has not gone out to that site to go out and look at what's going on out there. And I also will be talking about partnerships, as I did earlier in the work session. Dr. Conley has been a great force within the Wake County Public School System, building big partnerships out there, and his shoes will be hard to fill. So we'll be missing him. Last night we had our Board Advisory Committee meeting at Pleasant Union Elementary. And it was well done by Kevin Biles and his PTA group. They did a great job of hosting that, and had the opportunity of Dr. Burns coming and speaking as kind of a town hall meeting, and had good attendance. And he did a great job of going through the things that we're facing, the budget, the legislation, assignment maybe coming up, different things that we are dealing with, safety and security. They had a lot of questions. He got held up after for a very long time, so he closed the place down. And it was really nice. It was a great way to have a meeting with a kind of a town hall to end our year. We will probably go ahead and do something in May. We didn't have another advisory committee that we were going to have, but we're going to set up kind of another informational meeting on student assignment in District 3 in North Raleigh area for student assignment, because it could impact that area. So I've asked for a lot of people to join that meeting as well. Have had a lot of conversations about the budget in my district, and people are just amazed at the unfunded mandates by our state legislature. And so they are beginning to understand what we're up against as locally funded. And I'm going to continue to tell that story as I go out and talk to more of the people that are just beginning to learn how much we have to do and how many rules that come our way. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing most of this coming up time.
Thank you. First of all, my Board Advisory Council meeting was scheduled to meet next Monday. The meeting is being postponed and has not yet been rescheduled. We may meet with another Board Advisory Council meeting with the student assignment overview being the subject, so we'll stay tuned. We'll update you there. About the budget. The North Carolina, we have a lot of folks here from other places. And what they learn when they come in here is we don't do it like you did it where you came from. North Carolina is very unique in how it chooses to fund public schools. It is primarily a state-funded system. Following the Great Depression, I mean the Great Depression, not the one we had a decade ago, the state rewrote the Constitution and took over the operation of our public schools. They left to the counties the responsibility of providing facilities. That is morphing each year as the state makes decisions to not fully fund the salary requirements of our teachers, to transfer operating expenses to the county budget, such as utility costs, to the current conversation about changing the formula for allocating resources in the legislature leaves the door wide open for changing the balance between state and county funding as we move forward. It's something we all need to watch. The reason I bring this up is that school boards in North Carolina do not have taxing authority. In most of the other 15,000 school districts in this nation, the school board would have the responsibility for going to the public and saying, we need 4 more cents on the local tax rate to fund our operating needs. This board does not have that authority. So we don't stand for election based on that choice. In North Carolina, it's the county commission that has the opportunity to make a choice to supplement the state budget. We've estimated as best we can what the state budget will provide in terms of operating expenses for the coming year. Our staff has done an excellent job in preparing an analysis of what that means in terms of the local funding requirements that have been built over time by the state's effort to transfer responsibilities to the counties. So as we move through this budget process, the board has a responsibility of presenting a budget to the county commission by the 15th of May, which I'm sure we will do. I just want the public to have a good understanding that it's not like it is where you came from. The appeal to the county commission is essentially the decision that the school board would make in most of the other communities in North Carolina. And that is a conversation that will be had. Now, I must say, in our joint meeting with the County Commission recently, there was a great deal of synergy around the need for us together to go to the legislature and to explain how some decisions that are being made on Jones Street are adversely impacting local property owners and local property tax rates. That's a conversation we need to have, and I think we can go arm in arm with our county commission friends to the legislature to have that conversation. It doesn't mean that the need for local funding is going to be diminished between now and July 1. So I just wanted to share that information with you. I also had the opportunity to meet and talk with 4 very, very special teachers who had been nominated by their peers at Northwoods Elementary School for an honor teacher program sponsored by the Cary Chamber of Commerce. First grade teacher, hearing impaired teacher, 5th grade ELA teacher, had 110 students. Now, 5th grade, 4 classes, 110 students. You can see what class size reductions at K3 is doing to 5. And the other one was a 2nd grade teacher. Absolutely amazing, dedicated, committed, in this case all women, to meeting the needs of their students. And I just want to celebrate the fact that the teachers who work in our schools every day have nothing more in front of them in terms of their purpose and mission than to help our children be successful. It's all about teaching and learning. I just want to celebrate them as an example of the other 10,000 plus teachers that we have in Wake County. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. And I was remiss to thank Dr. Trice and his team for putting on our first Equity Summit. I heard from a very, very good source that it was well done, and the students were very much so engaged, surprised, and committed to moving forward. So thank you, Dr. Trice and your team. I will now entertain a motion for the approval of our agenda.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the meeting agenda as listed.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Thank you. So as I'm always happy to see Ms. Crystal Reardon joining us tonight. So we have a recognition item starting there, which is our WCPSS Stand Up, Speak Out, Bullying Prevention Video Contest winners. And I see lots of students in the audience already smiling, Ms. Reardon.
Right.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Burns. It is always my pleasure to come forward to recognize our amazing young people in the Wake County Public School System. Tonight we're recognizing, as our 5th annual Wake County Public School System Stand Up, Speak Out Bullying Prevention Video Contest, which kicked off during National Bullying Prevention Month in October of 2017. The video contest itself concluded in February of 2018. We announced the winners of the video competition at our school counselor celebration on February 4th. Tonight, we're proud to also recognize the elementary, middle, and high school winners. I'll be sharing with you the names of the schools for the 3rd and 2nd place winners at the elementary, middle, and high school level. And then I have the pleasure of having Dr. Burns come forward, and he will present plaques to the 1st place winners. We'll have the students stand to be recognized, and you'll get to see their winning videos. So let's start with our elementary. 3rd place winner, as an acknowledgement, is Zebulon Elementary. The 2nd place winner is Wildwood Forest Elementary. And our 1st place winner is Brentwood Elementary. So Mr. Rob Epler, who is the principal of Brentwood Elementary, will be coming forward to receive the plaque. And if we could also have the students stand from Brentwood Elementary. And now you'll get to see their winning video.
Stand up, speak out. Stand up, speak out. Stand up, speak out. Stand up, speak out. It's like, okay, there's this story about 2 students. They were just hanging out reading when some kids started to push around and bully their friend. But they were afraid to say anything, so they pretended not to see and kept reading their books. But they both felt so bad about it that it summoned a magical clock lady. She gave them a magic clock so that they could turn back time and do the right thing. This time, when they saw the bullying start, they stood up and stopped it. But you know, if you don't have access to a magic clock, it's just easier to stand up and speak out when you see bullying happen in the first place. Stand up, speak out! Yeah.
Congratulations, Brentwood. At the middle school level, our 3rd place winner as acknowledgement was Ligon Middle School, and we actually had a tie for 1st place, so there's no 2nd place winner at the middle school. Instead, we're going to be recognizing Fuquay Varina Middle School. Their principal is here, Terrence McCotter, and their counselor, Fonda Phillips. Can we have the students from Fuquay Middle stand? Let's watch their video.
Hey, welcome to the special edition of Pause News. My name is Braxton.
And I'm Lena with the report on the bullying epidemic. 160,000 students stay home from school per day due to fear of being bullied. 80% of students reported being bullied at least once.
Bullying is an aggressive or intentional showing of aggressive behavior to another student, and cyberbullying is when they're doing the same thing but just online.
We have breaking news from the hallway of a local school. Let's go to Announcer 1 for a report.
Thanks, Braxton and Julia. I'm here at FBMS to interview new students about, and there seems to be something going on behind me.
You're so weird. You're a loser.
No one likes you.
Even teachers don't like you.
Bro, no one is going to help you.
No one even really wants you here.
According to students from the American Justice Department, 77% of students are being bullied.
We interviewed several students from on campus with tips on how to handle bullying if you are the victim.
If you're a bystander watching a bullying situation, this is what you can do.
Speak up against bullying. Just say stop it.
Walk away. Act like you don't care, even if you really do.
Tell an adult you trust. Stick together with other students. Staying with a group might help.
If it is safe, speak up and say stop it.
Be a friend to the victim. Sit with him, talk to him. Maybe he's been going through something.
Set a good example. Do not bully others.
Let's go to Dakota in the cafeteria.
Thanks, Braxton and Lena. Behind us was a typical day at a middle school cafeteria before our cameraman caught us on video.
The world would be a better place without you. You're such an idiot. If you came to school today, you're going to get jumped. You have no friends. No one cares about you.
Cyberbullying is being cruel to others by sending harmful comments, using the internet or a cell phone, and we have just witnessed this in the cafeteria.
I stood up.
I stood up.
I spoke out.
I spoke out.
We stand up. We speak out. We stand up. We speak out.
Hey, welcome to the special edition.
Congratulations, Fuquay. And our tie for first place is West Millbrook Middle School. Their principal, Kelly Aman, is here to receive their plaque, and Counselor April Leon. Will the students of West Millbrook please stand up? I'm sure they're standing up wherever they are. And we're going to watch their winning video.
I hate middle school. Every day it's a war zone. I'm tired of being bullied. All day, every day. I wish they would just leave me alone. I'm so tired of being bullied. I wish someone would just help me. I wish they would just make it stop. Stop!
Did you know that 1 in 6 students have reported either being bullied or witnessing bullying? I know. That's a lot. Being a bystander to bullying is not okay. It tells the bully what they're doing is fine, but it's not.
Instead, be an upstander. Speak up. Tell an adult what's happening. This sends the message that bullying is not okay and will not be tolerated.
So together, let's all stand up and speak out against bullying.
Hey, leave Jefferson alone.
Who are you?
Yeah, who are you?
I'm a kid who's tired of you and your friends bullying my peers because it's whack.
Yeah, and who's gonna stop us?
I am.
Geez, it was just a joke. Don't gang up on us.
Yeah, we'll leave him alone.
There's nothing funny about bullying someone. Come on, Jefferson, let's go find an adult.
Thanks for standing up for me.
No problem, are you okay?
Yeah.
Congratulations, West Millbrook Middle. And our high school winners, as acknowledgement, third place winner at the high school level is Heritage High School. Second place winner is Crossroads Flex. And our first place winner is Green Hope High School. Here to accept their plaque is their principal, Karen Summers. And will the students of Green Hope please stand up to be recognized? Let's take a look at their video. Congratulations, Green Hope. Before we conclude, I just want to take a minute to share that the Bullying Prevention Video Contest is sponsored by the Wake County Public School System's Bullying Prevention Committee, which includes members from our schools, from the district, and from the community. And I want to give a shout out to Cecil Coates, who is our Senior Administrator for Secondary School Counseling, and he chairs the Bullying Prevention Committee. So thank you, Cecil. This concludes our presentation, and I would invite our school members and students to take pictures if they would like in the lobby. Madam Chair, if it's okay if they leave once the presentation is ended.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Reardon.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us this evening, and thank you to our students who gave me quite a few smiles, especially my front row elementary. They were quite impressed, and I appreciate the smiles. The smiles are infectious. And thank you to everyone who participated in drawing attention to when statistics are staggering, like 1 in 4. I can tell you the Centers for Disease Control considers that an epidemic, and I think that the importance of what you all are doing of leading this campaign and ensuring our students' engagement is greatly appreciated from our entire board. And thank you for the commitment and the work that, on behalf of all of you, thank you. And now you can take all those cute smiles and take some photos. Oh, I know. And thank you again, Ms. Reardon. I think somebody liked their reserved seating. They were looking like they wanted to take their little sheet. Thank you. Next, we have an information item on Vision 2020 Strategic Plan Update, Community Engagement. I think we have a group of folks, Mr. Tim Simmons, Brian Pittman, Cedric Williams, and Chris Brown.
Good evening.
Thank you. And
you're welcome. So in communications, we often tell folks don't follow a good video and try not to come after the kids. So oops. We will do our best to overcome that high mark that they just set. If we can hit the PowerPoint, there we go. We're very pleased to have a few minutes, and despite the size of our group here, we are just going to take a few minutes. It has been a while since we've had a chance to do a full review of the community engagement progress on the strat plan, and we wanted to take this opportunity to do that because we've made some significant progress, particularly in the last 18 months. Before I go any further, let me introduce who is here with me. Chris Brown from Professional Learning is here. She'll talk about customer service. Cedric Williams from Northwestern Area Superintendent will talk about family engagement. Brian Pittman, principal from Holly Springs High School, will talk about community engagement, and he has brought with him Emma Fry, Holly Springs student. If I can, real quickly, what I want to walk through here in about 60 seconds is about 18 months of the work. In 2015, obviously, is when the board approved the strategic plan. That was largely when we began to get community engagement off the ground. 2016 was mostly a planning year, a group of about 25 to 30 principals, parents, administrators from various departments, and a little bit of pilot programs that we got started in 2016. We spoke with you about some of them at the time, the family academies and the digital academies being the most obvious ones. Those were expanded in 2017. We began to define and do training in customer service. Community Youth was reorganized to provide some financial support, which leads us to this year, where the family engagement becomes a formal part of our school improvement plans. Customer service is now humming along at a pretty good pace. It's going to take a while to get through everybody within the district that we have targeted, but it is now clearly up and running. And then by 2019, I anticipate that everything will be up and running, and we will be on our way to being fully implemented. As these presenters speak to you, they will, it's inevitable. There are numbers involved. This is a measuring. When we talk about progress, there's a measuring. But I want to emphasize that the common thread through all of this would be the relationships, whether you're talking about family engagement or community engagement or customer service, because that has been the foundation upon which we've built all of the programs that we have done so far. So with that, Chris, why don't I hand it over to you?
Every month you have the pleasure of meeting employees who are brought before you for the Employee Excellence Awards, and many of them are being recognized for their exemplary customer service. If you thought about those people in terms of a nautical analogy, something like this, here, this is very low tech, but an analogy of a boat going through the water, leaving a wake, their behaviors in customer service are like that wake. One of our goals with this customer service portion of the strategic plan is to let Wake County have a reputation of leaving a wake of customer service that is so positive and affirming and exemplary that people know us from that reputation. Another goal to me of this work is that every single employee we've got could come before you to be recognized for their exemplary customer service and to be honored for that. So the conversation about how we could make this happen started about a year ago. Got together with Tim, and we realized, we know a lot of employees already do amazing customer service, and there are pockets of exemplary customer service, but we felt that the need was for consistency across all departments and all schools. We began working with 21 departments and schools represented in a collaborative effort to identify what should it look like. What should exemplary customer service be like? And it kind of boiled down to 3 terms, and you can see them on the slide. Welcome, respond, and over-deliver. We had to define what that looked like. So we began with just a small group, the bus drivers. Last summer, with over 600 bus drivers, the intervention services staff, the magnet office, my office, and the transportation staff got together and created a 2-hour workshop that over 600 bus drivers participated in, looking at how their bus is sort of their home and how do they do customer service on that bus with their students, an extension of the classroom and an extension of the school. At that point, we thought, we want to start targeting another group of staff, which is our frontline office staff, and we need to tweak the training and tweak the content. So we pulled in more people to say, what does customer service look like in the front office, in our direct relationships with internal or external customers? To do that, we needed a group of trainers to help start rolling that out. So we identified 6 exemplary support staff who are well known for their customer service skills and who were interested in learning how to be adult educators. So I started working with them. They came through training with me in the art and science of presenting, in coaching about adult learning practices. We started practicing it. They shadowed me. We started coaching, and they helped redesign the workshops. That group of 6 people has now delivered, let me look at my numbers, 17 workshops, reaching 220 clerical staff from 87 schools and 14 departments at Central Services. We're continuing to roll out that learning opportunity for our staff, and we realize not only do we need the sort of basics of welcome, respond, over, deliver, but sometimes customers can be a little testy. So we added in a layer of learning around how do you de-escalate highly emotional situations with customers. And so we've developed training around that, very practical skills-based training. So the future for us with the customer service objective is expanding that cadre of trainers, giving more staff an opportunity to become professional developers, even though they might not have known that's what they were going to be doing. And integrating customer service into our evaluations, and also looking at it from a broader perspective, linking customer service to the evaluations and in our new hire orientations. We want the Wake County Wake to be one that leaves a legacy of excellence in customer service. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to talk to you a bit about family engagement. Family engagement is a portion of the strategic plan that I'm definitely passionate about. And I do feel that without true, sincere family engagement, we are doing ourselves, our students, and our families a disservice. So that in itself is a why as we approach this work. At this point in time, we are well on our way in doing things a bit better when it comes down to involving families. And oftentimes, we're quick to say parent. And I'll correct people sometimes to say families, because we realize in the Wake County public school system, like other systems, a lot of our students, it's family members or guardians who make sure that their child or student is taken care of. So it's definitely families that are playing this role in making sure students are learning. At this very moment, we're in the midst of a survey that our families are filling out for us. This survey is in conjunction with a company that knows the work of Dr. Karen Mapp. Dr. Mapp is a guru when it comes down to family engagement. She was here several months ago. All of our principals heard from her, and they heard what she had to say about if you're not doing this work, you're missing the mark. So at this point, with that particular survey and with other data points, we want to make sure that principals and their teams have the necessary information as they are in the midst of a school improvement writing process, in which family engagement will be a key indicator that's there to make sure that principals are doing things a little better. We all love a good hot dog social, but the question that you must ask is, after that hot dog social, what are parents walking away with? And I'm guilty. There are times that I said, wow, look at the numbers. Look at how many parents we have out here, family members. But then I have to ask myself, well, what do they leave the school with that's going to help their child do better at home? So the last thing that Dr. Mapp said to us as she transitioned back to Boston was, you've got to make sure you have next steps in place. Don't let this be an event that I'm coming through and that you don't have follow-up. So we're making sure that principals, especially Title I principals, and all of our special assistants to each area are continuing to see professional development opportunities so that they will be able to help and assist every school improvement team do things better when it comes down to family engagement. The last thing that I'll say is, with Dr. Mapp's work that will be embedded in every school, with the survey and many other data points, and with the professional development opportunities and the focus that every principal has, I feel like we're well on our way in doing certain things that, according to Dr. Mapp and other experts, will create a faster rate of literacy acquisition among children, will increase rates of going on to secondary education among youth, will increase attendance rates among students, and decrease rates of school dropout among youth. Every point that I just made goes directly to our goal of making sure that we're graduating students on time, 95% of them ready for college or career, and most importantly, making sure they're productive citizens in our society. So I've given you the why. I've let you know where we are with things, and I just ask that you just keep an eye on family engagement and the work that we're doing to try to make sure that this is the most inviting place for all families. Thank you.
Well, good evening, Dr. Burns, members of the board. It's my pleasure tonight to share with you some strategic work happening around engaging our community partners in the process of learning. If we talk about the fact that what starts here does change everything, one charge for change that we've been given in our strategic plan truly is not only to make sure that all of our students reach the graduation stage, but that they have vibrant opportunities that they are passionate about on the other side of that graduation stage. That is a charge that is far too weighty for schools or families to do on their own. So engaging our community partners in that work can only serve to create new experiences where students find skills, passions either that they didn't know about or did not yet feel the agency or the confidence to engage in. And that's part of the why of this work. In the last year or so, we've done a little bit of work to try to look at, so what are some of the partnerships between schools and our community partners within the district? A very quick survey of schools found that we had, at the minimum, 450 different, quickly identifiable and sustained projects going on between our community partners and our schools. And we know that that is just the tip of the iceberg of what's really happening when we dig into the great work being done for our students in Wake County. So with that number, we have to ask the question, how do we continue to grow that work and make it as effective and inviting for our community partners to not only engage now in those partnerships, but to engage in the long term? One of the initiatives that the team has engaged in is attempting to build an online portfolio or repository of community partners who want to engage with our schools to make that resource more easily available for schools to connect. Now, as you can imagine, rolling out any initiative in a district this size, there is that wonderful productive struggle that comes where you learn more new things that you want to do. For example, it has led to, in the community of Holly Springs, the two middle schools, the high school, working in collaboration with our local Chamber of Commerce to see how can we engage our community partners with one voice to make it easier for them to engage many schools with little action or barriers on their part, but also so that we can sustain and build that systemically within our community and not use up that resource over time. Again, within our community in Holly Springs, you know, one of the things that I know about this board is that you greatly value knowing how does this work directly impact students and their experience. And so this evening, it is my pleasure to have with me one of our fabulous seniors at Holly Springs High, Miss Emma Fry, whose experience through a community partnership not only grows out of this work, but also, I think, embodies a lot of the promise of this work. So with that, I'll turn it over to Emma for a moment.
Hello, my name is Emma Fry. I'm a senior at Holly Springs High School. I was lucky enough to participate in a unique opportunity with a local author where I edited some of his upcoming novels alongside another Holly Springs student, using many of the skills that I've developed over my years in schooling. And this experience was really beneficial to me because I always knew that I really loved writing. However, I had never explored the editing aspect of it. And though I realized that I had a passion for editing books, I plan to continue growing this through college and hopefully incorporate it into my future career. So since editing several of this author's books, I've decided to pursue a combination of science and English, where I hope to build my own career that balances my talents and passions and utilizes the skills that I've gained. I greatly hope experiences like mine will continue in this school system so that more students will have the ability and the opportunity to create valuable, strong connections and eliminate the detachment that I believe can arise between different environments of like a classroom and a real-world career. I believe it's important for educators to weave the dynamic and skills of a career into the learning and methods of classroom atmosphere. It is extremely valuable to have students who can emerge from their schooling with experience and a wider knowledge of how a real-world job operates and what their talents and passions and talents can become in a real-world setting. So in conclusion, what I have gathered from this opportunity is my own experience with an employer in a profession that I'm greatly interested in and that I plan to continue with. And I believe it's very important for all students to explore and understand their options for their futures so that they're able to try new things outside of their school classes. And it's very likely that a student may not even develop or grow a passion in the same way without the opportunity to engage with professionals or members in the community that spark interest in subjects they're passionate about. So, thank you.
So what starts here with Emma is a confidence and a passion that she did not have prior to this experience, and that I know will stay with her for a lifetime, and I'm confident will benefit our community for many years to come. What I love about her story of her experience is, just as much as we talk about we prepare students for careers that haven't even been created yet, through Emma's experience, she's able to take what she's passionate about, find new ones, and combine them to create a career for herself that doesn't exist yet. That's the heart of our work, and I think that there is, again, a lot of promise for our district, because we know that this is one example of experiences that are happening throughout our schools on a daily basis, and so that to me is very exciting. This past week, a group of school administrators, career development coordinators, district officials, and also business leaders got together to view a prototype of an online portal that will allow community members to say, here are our resources, here are our needs, and schools to do the same, so that we can help to facilitate a seamless connection between our schools and our community partners, and hopefully also, going back to Cedric's comments of Dr. Mapp, to be able to track those, to really ask the question, how are these experiences impacting achievement and outcomes for our kids? And if those experiences and outcomes are anything like what we have heard from Emma, then that will be a wonderful follow-up that we look forward to bringing to the board in the future.
So, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. I think I may have mentioned this to you early on. When we first started this work, I made this comparison that we were like the little gunboat, and the learning and teaching was the big freighter, and we just cleared the way for them. And then as time went on, the group that I work with said, Tim, you really have that all wrong. Engagement is like the ocean, and the freighter floats in the ocean. It's what we do. So as our work gets broader and deeper, we look forward to bringing other updates to you. And if you have any questions, feel free.
Absolutely. Ms. Kushner, we'll go around the table.
Thank you. My first question to Ms. Brown would be if school board members could participate in that de-escalation training that you mentioned, if you could think about that. I think that we could make good use of that. But as far as the portal, sir, do you have an estimated time? Because I know I would love to point community members to that portal so that we can connect. Do y'all have an estimated time of arrival?
Yeah. The short answer is going to be the sooner the better. If we can have that up and running within the year, that would be fine. That would be good. We've had, quite frankly, a couple of false starts on that. It's been one of the most difficult ones to get going, and it is in part because it is going to take a lot of maintenance. When you do an early survey and find that there are 450 areas of engagement and you barely scratch the surface, you begin to realize what it's going to take to create a portal that is actual value to the people who use it. But I'm hoping we're working with the school to career and the business councils now, and I think we finally found a foothold that'll allow us to get forward within the year.
Mr. Sett.
First, again, great work by the team, and certainly very important work, and work that's needed. I think when you think about engagement, both particularly from a customer service standpoint, a community engagement standpoint, it's sort of like soft skills. You know it's needed, very helpful, but difficult to kind of measure. And I know this might be the next step in the work, but how do you all see sort of measuring the impact of this work, particularly the community customer service piece? Is it fewer complaints or that sort of thing? But have you all begun to think about yet how you would measure the impact of this particular piece of the work?
There are several places you could measure. Right now, we don't have a lot of baseline data because we haven't been out there, right? But we need to do that, and we need to then be able to measure sort of getting better at it. I also see it, if we can begin building into our employee evaluation process questions about their customer service behaviors and begin asking that sort of assessment to be done at their site by their supervisor, that's another way to begin measuring it. Now, ultimately, I would like it that we never lose a family from Wake County over anything related to customer service. So if we could start measuring that, that'd be terrific, too.
If I might, and it wasn't mentioned here, you've heard us talk from time to time about the software that we use now for talking with many of our parents. Let's Talk is the name of the product. And one thing that's worth noting here is that, well, here at the district level, understandably, we tend to deal with folks when they have already exhausted the channels at the school level. In other words, they generally aren't coming to say thank you as much as they're coming to say, why didn't something get addressed? When you look at the data that we have for the interaction between the schools and their parents, and even the departments and our parents, our customer service is very solid. Probably 95% of what we do is turned around within 24 to 48 hours. And by turned around, I mean somebody comes to us and we respond to them quickly. A lot of times, the first compliment we get is from a parent who says, wow, you got back to me that quickly? Some of this is also just instilling the understanding in the school system that this is what we do, this is what we expect, that sitting on a complaint is not acceptable, that it's better to tell somebody something quickly, even if it's not what they want to hear, than it is to sort of hope that it goes away and wait a week and then it doesn't. So some of the data that we have in that area, which is not directly related to Chris's but is similar, tells us that we do a lot of good customer service now, and we tend at the district level, like I said, to sort of have it filtered such that what we get is not necessarily all of the complimentary information.
Ms. Mayor.
On family engagement, I just want to say I've had the experience of seeing this at 2 different schools, and having the opportunity to bring families in, you get a little social time and then go back and you get to learn about new math, or in my case, I went to go learn about the writing process in K2, and I learned about the RAP strategy. I'll be honest, I had to look it back up, but I get to ask my kids when they're writing, did you use the RAP strategy? Ms. Hartenstein can help me out, but restating the question, answering the question, and proving it with details. And for me as a parent, that was really powerful to see how my kids are learning and the instructional method. And to be able to go home and now have those tools to communicate with them when they're struggling, it's very powerful. And so I just want to take a parental privilege to say I can see that. And so now bringing more families in would be amazing. So I don't have a question, I just have a comment.
And I'll comment to your comment, okay? and that's the goal for all schools, where we give families opportunities to play a role, to be a part of the learning process, not necessarily on the tail end to say these are the results, but on the front end to say, well, this is what you can do at home as we're doing this at school, or next 9 weeks, we're going to be working on these particular concepts. But family engagement also includes making sure that we're looking at the right time to try to bring parents in to engage with them, making sure that schools realize that they need to take inventory of when is the best time for their clientele in which to try to bring them in to have a conversation like that. So great comment.
Yeah. And my kids were fed and they had childcare on site for them. So, I mean, really a big shout out to the school, but I think they really embrace those values and that work, and it's being felt.
Well, we'll make sure we call those schools and say good job. Thank you.
and we can start replicating. Ms. Cash.
I just want to say to Madam Chair and to our acting superintendent, thank you for bringing the information item to the board. I like this format, but this was really good information, and I appreciate you bringing it. It just made my day to hear these kind of things. So thank you for all that you're doing and bringing to us as a full board.
Thank you, Ms. Cash, and I will definitely reiterate that this was a full board process to start bringing forward all the great work that our staff is doing on the strat plan. So we hear bits and pieces, but what we realize ourselves as a board is we weren't seeing it fully being rolled out and hearing these pieces, and quite frankly, hearing our students, which also thank you, Mr. Pittman, for bringing a student, and thank you, Ms. Fry, for joining us. So I was thinking about impact. I think Mr. Sutton was the one that asked the question, and so the whole time you were talking, because I was just in a meeting earlier out of school today talking about impact and the things that we don't actually always think through. So I think, Mr. Pittman, you highlighted, while your interest may have been science, you've now been introduced to something else that you may not, and we know that the careers that you will embark upon, we don't even know them all yet. But also, I'm going to guess that there were several soft skills and several of the 4 Cs that were also a part of this process. And so I think that this is what we'll see as we continue, Dr. Burns, to see staff and their teams and students come before us to really talk about the way that the strategic plan is actually being implemented across the district. So thank you all for being up and actually having student sharing. And I'm also hoping that we will remember, I don't always remember to point our commissioners and our community to our YouTube station, but this actually came up at our joint meeting as well from commissioners to say, how are you keeping us abreast when we talk so much about it and it feels theoretical to them? And I think for the last 2 weeks we've actually seen this in action. So thank you, and thank you, Dr. Burns, for making sure the staff is ready to display this, and for my colleagues for reminding me that we wanted to have this in front of us. So thank you. I think I'm very near restriction to my glasses now. I can't see anything without them. So we will now move, and I will read these together, both our public hearing of the superintendent's proposed budget and public comment, but I will denote the separation in the speakers. So for the public hearing of the superintendent's proposed budget, each individual speaker will be allowed 3 minutes for remarks regarding the superintendent's proposed budget. Regarding public comment, citizens who sign up to address the board during public comment will be called on in priority order, first for items on the agenda and then for items not on the agenda. Each individual speaker will be allowed 3 minutes for remarks. Specific personnel or student matters are not appropriate for this public comment setting, but may be addressed through applicable WCPSS personnel, the grievance policy, or other applicable policies. Our first speaker for the budget hearing is Daniel Lamar Grant King. David Blackwelder. Angel Muhammad.
Good evening. I am Angel Muhammad, and I will be speaking to you all today as a parent and as an advocate as it regards to the budget. I am a parent of an 11-year-old visually impaired son who receives services through Wake County. I had to write something to make sure I get my point across because this is the first time for me. I am especially excited and concerned as he embarks on the next phase of his life as an upcoming middle school student. How will my caring and communicative and bright son be educated? Will his gifts and talents be enhanced and nurtured as he moves through middle school? And will there be resources available to help him help him be the best as he can be despite his exceptionalities? As an engaged parent and advocate, I will continue to be present and volunteer as I have done in the past. But what I am concerned about as it relates to the budget is the allocation of monies for adequate accessibility for adaptive aids, qualified teachers and staff that are in equipped classrooms. I want to be ensured that the progression of my son's academic journey will continue to be supported and enriching for his success. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for your first time. Monica Lavery.
Good evening, Dr. Burns, Madam Chair, and board members. My first time as well, and as I'm listening, I'm getting a really good education that I'm probably preaching to the choir what I'm about to say, but maybe it'll be good practice for grist for the mill to be speaking out to my county commissioners as well as our state legislature. I live near Leesville Schools in North Raleigh, and I've been a Leesville parent for 15 years. I have 3 students in Leesville High School. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker and social work supervisor, and I have provided community-based mental health services in many of our K-12 Wake County public schools over the years, and as such have communicated and worked a lot with our school social workers, school counselors, and school psychologists, and observed the impact they can have on our students' achievement and addressing their behavioral and social and emotional issues. In reviewing the materials that the board provided about the proposed budget for this year, I've noted that our current ratio of school counselors to students is 1 to 477, and that's nearly twice that recommended by the School Counselors Association. And although the current proposal includes like a modest increase in funding for those counselors and maybe some psychologists, I'm not seeing the proposed budget would significantly adjust that ratio given the continued growth, of course, in our numbers of Wake County public school students that's projected. So as a parent, I've observed that there are not nearly enough school counselors, especially at the high school level, to be able to help with this increasingly complex need that our students have to plan their high school careers with a view to vocational, college education, and planning future careers. Myself, as an older parent, I'm completely flummoxed by even the whole process of planning for helping our children navigate the increased social emotional challenges of modern American life, the complexity and constant changes in our educational and training requirements, and the job market for the future that's constantly evolving, as we know as well. So we also need significantly more school counselors in our schools, not just to address our behavioral and potentially violence issues discussed in the proposed budget, but to address increases of anxiety, depression, self-destructive behaviors, drug abuse that affect students at all our socioeconomic levels. So here also as a taxpayer, I'm aware of how much money our law enforcement and juvenile justice system costs us, and yes, you can raise my taxes. I would much rather my tax dollars be used for an increase in funds for prevention of academic failure and behavioral and social emotional problems than in going into our justice system. The current situation of school social workers riding circuit between 3 schools or more is untenable, and given the numbers of $500,000 to $700,000 homes going up in mega houses going up in my neighborhood and really all over Wake County, I just can't fathom why we cannot come up with the revenue to provide for adequate professional support along these lines for our students. So as a parent, a taxpayer, and a mental health professional, I strongly advocate for an increase in this budget to bring our support via our school counselors, social workers, and psychologists much closer to the ratio suggested by those school professionals. And I will continue to stand up as an advocate along these lines as a citizen. Thank you.
Thank you as well for joining us for your first time as well. Robert Ward.
Well, this isn't my first time, but it is my second time. So.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here today to ask you to reconsider the unnecessary demolition of East Wake Middle School. The current building is structurally sound and should be renovated and not torn down. The taxpayers of Wake County ask that you be more efficient with their hard-earned money. I also question the need for an additional $60 million when the population increase does not justify the increase in the budget. I ask that you maintain and address issues of the current structural sound school buildings instead of burdening the taxpayers to build new buildings that aren't needed. Thank you for your time. God bless.
Truman Newberry. Not here. Okay. Tim Jowers.
Hey, good evening. I'm the East Wake County Commissioner candidate for County Commissioner for East Wake County. Robert, near us there's also some empty school buildings. If we look at your budget, and I've taken some graduate classes in accounting. Look at page 6. You've got a 30% building budget and your competition doesn't have that. So you're going to be in a lot of challenges in the future for your funding. Local option, you have another 30%. Your competition doesn't have that either. So you're showing me a budget where you have twice as much funding per pupil as the charter schools. It's hard for me to understand why you need more money. And I can go through this. I went through all 209 pages. And there's a lot of things that raise questions, but the information is not given there. Your estimation on what you're going to have as far as the number of students, that's probably wrong. I've taken some classes in statistics and trend and marketing. And as you know, the majority of county schools are seeing reductions in their enrollment. So this budget plan you're putting out is not a responsible fiscal budget. It doesn't give enough information to the public for them to realize what's going on here. And as a taxpayer, and as some people mentioned, we're all very happy to pay extra taxes, but we also expect results. Right now, you don't need more money. You need management. And, just to point out one thing here, $300,000 to audit salaries. That's a good bit of money for somebody to go and see how much people are making. I'm standing in these two buildings here, and I don't know how many people work here, maybe 500 people. They're not in schools teaching. Your competition has people in schools teaching. That's it.
And Sharon?
Let's see how I sound. I think y'all can understand me, right? Okay, well, this is definitely not my first time speaking here. And I really appreciate the fact that because of this group, I've not had to come speak here for a long, long time. This has been very, very, very nice thing to have happen. And the only reason I'm here tonight is to tell you that your budget is sound. Your budget is needed. Your budget is going to build schools for 24,000 students that do not have a permanent seat right now. But mostly the reason why I'm here is because I want to make sure that you hold fast, that you stay true. Because the first time I did speak, my child was in kindergarten. There were K through 3 teachers' aides in every classroom. There was a 1 to 45 ratio for ESL teachers to ESL students. That is amazing to me. And we're not there right now. We're far from that right now. You have trimmed. Oh, by the way, we had a custodian, multiple custodians that were cleaning the schools every day, not 2 days a week. So I see how you've trimmed. I see how you've saved. I see how you've had to go backwards to maintain teaching and learning. You focus on teaching and learning. You do a great job of that. I appreciate that as a parent. I appreciate that as a taxpayer. I appreciate that. My son is now 28, and the first time I spoke about funding was when he was in kindergarten. So this has been a long journey for me. Roxy, you were there. Yes, you were. We talked on the phone about it. But you're going to feel pressure. You're going to feel pressure from certain communities, from certain community groups. Just remember why you're doing this. Remember why. The why behind your position here is for children. And don't let anything waver you from that, because the funding you have is for children. Every job that is in the school system is for children, mostly direct, some indirect. But children need us and need you to stand strong with this budget. Thank you very much.
Caller Wright.
I'm going to defer my questions to Dr. Trice, and I'll submit mine.
Okay.
After I talk with Dr. Trice.
Thank you. We will now move to our public comment speakers. Jerry Coleman.
Yes, my name is Gary Coleman. I've been living in Raleigh for 25 years. I've been as active as I possibly can with representing the public in examining the procedures and money spent by government, in this case, Wake County public school system. East Wake Middle School, as my friend commented on earlier, is my subject. It is proposed, according to the public press, that the school will be basically demolished for $59 million and rebuilt at $60 million. Now, I've been in the real estate industry for 45 years in New York City and here in Raleigh. Here in Raleigh for 25 years as a commercial real estate appraiser. We are very, very acute in our analysis of saving money. But I see in what I've read thus far and heard thus far is that rebuilding or removing a building for the same amount of money seems a bit preposterous. Why don't you just rebuild the building and not tear down its structure, its supporting devices? I live in a neighborhood near Broughton High School. It's been around for, 100 years, 75 years. Nothing has been changed. They've actually added to it and made the school bigger, but they have not teared it down. Now, it's a gorgeous school. I have not yet seen the one in East Wake Middle, but it's probably 2 or 3 stories. It looks like this building. In fact, this building could be a great school. Will Wake County reuse this building? Can Wake County reuse the school building that is proposed to be torn and eliminated and rebuilt for $60 million? Can you lease it or sell it? I know you can sell it for less. There's been no description whatsoever what the costs are to rebuild a building. It couldn't get through any bank to get approved, but you have our money, so you can approve it yourselves. I'm disgraced by the procedures used, which have been nearly secretive, and we want to know what's going on. Thank you.
Chris Hugo.
My name is Chris Hugo, and I am one of 2 managing members of the Identikid franchise here based out of Wake County. Me and my partner, Jim, both reside here in Wake County, and as you all have listed, a lot of the schools you've been to, and I'm sure have seen Identikid systems in today or in the past, we have the majority. We have 71% of Wake County. We have these visitor management systems. And in case you don't know, it sounds like you all do, but these are designed to keep schools safe, which is a very important and big issue right now. And there is actually, why I'm here tonight is in regards to a request for proposal, number 251-18-470, which addresses the need for a countywide visitor management system. And given that my partner and I have been in Wake County for 4 years, like I said, we have systems to keep these schools safe in 125 of the 187 Wake County schools. I wanted to express my concern for the safety of these kids in these schools, and so I copied you, Ms. Johnson-Hostler, and Dr. Martin on this bid as well. We submitted a bid, and I am respectfully requesting another time where we can address our concerns to you all at a later date after you have time to review this. So if there is a later date, you can let me know now, or I can. Thanks.
If you can resend your email to me, I'll respond to you that way.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion for our consent items.
Motion to approve consent. Move to approve consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Thank you. We will now move to our action items. First, we have Board Policy 4040/7310, Staff-Student Relations, first reading. Ms. Jackie Ellis.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Superintendent Burns. I bring to you today Board Policy 4040/7310, Staff-Student Relations. This policy was brought to the Academic Advancement Team in September and again in October. In November, we received feedback from the Policy Committee asking us to get information from the Superintendent's Teacher Advisory Council along with the Division of Assistant Principals and Principals. We received that feedback, gathered it, and then presented again to the Policy Committee on March 27th, at which time it was approved. So tonight, I'm asking if this policy is approved, it will take the place of Policy 2321, Conduct of Employees towards Students.
Dr. Burton.
On behalf of the Policy Committee, I'd like to move approval of this revised policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just briefly, first reading. Yeah, I just briefly want to say thank you for taking it back to the teachers and principals. I think that input was incredibly valuable and made for a stronger policy. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I also am pleased with this policy because we emphasize so much the relationship between teacher and student, and this gives great parameters to our staff and to our teachers on just what is appropriate and how to build having good relationships, because that's really important. We don't want to lose the relationship building, but the policy really supports great relationships. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Board Policy 5210, Distribution and Display of Non-School Information, first reading as well. Mr. Tim Simmons.
Good evening. Policy 5210 replaces old Policy 2420 and a much smaller Policy 2701, both of which dealt with the same topics. It's primarily makes clearer what can and cannot be distributed in the school systems. It adds some language that 2420 did not have, and it makes clear that principals are provided with the full authority at the school level as to whether or not to authorize the distribution with an appeal to the communications office should the person making the request feel that the principal has erred.
On behalf of the Policy Committee, I'd like to move approval of the revised policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Move to go into closed session to consider confidential personal information protected under GS 143-318.11, A1, A3, and A6, and 115C-319, to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privileges provided in GS 143-318.11A3, and to establish or instruct the board staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the board in negotiation of the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. We will now go into closed session. Thank you.